Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Domain. We have another podcast here today. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about our favorite video game movies. I'm here joined today by Kukis the Great.
Hi, I'm Kukas. You can find me on YouTube at Kukas the Great.
I am also here joined today by Mark. He writes a lot of our scripts for Film Domain.
This is Mark. You can check me out on YouTube at Movies with Mark and on Twitter at madness_Mark.
And once again, we have a great guy here that's been on a lot of podcasts. Please welcome back Nemo.
Hello, I'm Nemo Nobody, and you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Nemo.
All right, everyone. There you have it. You have their socials. Go check them out if you want to. So, does anyone want to say a movie to start off this shindig? Anyone? Mark, Nemo, Kukas?
Super Mario Bros. Movie, live action. If you haven't seen it, pause this video, go Google search the Goomba. We'll wait.
I think that's pretty much like, hasn't everyone like seen that
All right,
film by
welcome
now?
back to the video now that you've gone and looked at that picture.
I think everyone has seen it, not because they want to, but for the memes. You know,
Oh,
That's
yeah,
kind
you
of
have
like
to.
a prerequisite because I mean, aside from just being the first film based on a video game, it's also everyone kind of uses it as kind of the bog standard as like
how
the
bad a
bottom.
film can go.
How not to make a movie? Yeah. Yeah, when you
But
take a
that's
Goomba, when your Goomba is 7 feet tall and wearing a trench coat, it's probably not a good movie.
Goomba's the least of the film's problems.
That's true.
Goomba's honestly kind of cute. Happy
I
it's
like how
swaying.
they set it up for a sequel. It's like they thought the movie was going to do so well. They're like, hey, let's just set it up for a sequel right away.
Is
You
that the
always
height of
set it up for a
optimism?
sequel. You always set it up for a sequel.
That's got to be the height of optimism when you make a movie
Exactly.
that bad and you think, maybe we can make another one.
But that's how
Maybe.
you get them. That's how you get like the fans or the producers to say, "Oh, we should buy it again because oh, this character comes back or oh, something else might happen." So then fans demand a sequel.
That
Not
being
always,
said,
but yeah.
I'm looking at a list of video game movies right now on Wikipedia. They have the Rotten Tomato scores. Would you believe that the Super Mario Bros. Is about 2/3 of the way up on Rotten Tomatoes
I'd believe it.
compared to some of
Yeah.
the other ones?
Yeah, because there's a varying degree there
Mhm.
of well of quality, but also like how many reviews are accounted for. Because like earlier reviews are like sometimes you got to go back to find them from older sources for Rotten Tomatoes before it started accumulating.
Mhm.
Nowadays, Rotten Tomatoes covers a much broader range, so that they can bring in anything and affect it. Like I in particular, I write for another site that does Rotten Tomatoes. So if I wanted to, I could write another like expose on like Super Mario Brothers, and Rotten Tomatoes could pick it up, and it could shoot up there.
Well, right
So
now I'm actually reading an article that says Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo on the Super Mario Bros. Were drunk the whole time
Wow.
of filming. They
I mean,
were
you
so
would-
unhappy with
you would
the
have to be, right?
design, with the design of this movie that they were drunk almost the entire time throughout filming.
yeah, and this is like a
Such a fun
problem
time.
that
Yeah.
starts
Okay, so
from
this
the
was what John
beginning.
Leguizamo told Vulture. We were drinking too much because we were all miserable, so we drank a lot between takes. And then in 2017, the worst thing I ever did, Super Mario Bros. It was a nightmare. The whole experience, a nightmare. So like neither of them liked this movie to film.
It's great to know
And-
that too, because like in Nintendo Power, there's like a publicity photo of them playing Game Boys on the set,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering if they were hammered while they were doing that too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put it
He didn't-
past them.
wasn't even
was even on, like
he
it was
didn't
just for
even
a picture,
know
right?
that Super Mario Bros. Like a game or anything. He's like, "What the hell is this?" But then
Also-
again, no one told him anything on set. So
I also like to think that Bob Hoskins back in those days just never stopped drinking after Super Mario Bros.
He just kept going with it, you know?
The
It was so
PTSD haunted
traumatizing.
him forever.
Gotta get those memories out of here. Just drink it to death.
it's like Hoskins had like a really like badass career before Mario Brothers.
I mean, his
Like he was in
career
like
didn't
Oscar worthy
necessarily
stuff.
spiral after Super Mario
Didn't
Bros. But
spiral, but to actually do that film, like, oh god,
You know,
to get through that. Like he had some good roles after, but not like anything
Mhm.
huge.
Wait, what's his name, Mark? Bob what?
Hoskins.
Hoskins and John
Leguizamo.
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 Yeah,
See,
like
after
it's on
John
my
Leguizamo
tongue.
just
Mario,
started.
Leguizamo just went up. Like he just went straight up.
Dude, I
But
could
Hoskins, I
swear.
think he just kind of plateaued.
I swear they were both of them were in another movie together. It was like a zombie movie. I don't know.
Yeah. I know
Um,
Leguizamo was in it. I don't know if Hoskins was though.
I know for a fact that that guy that you just said, I have a hard time saying Louis Gozamo, his name.
Samo.
Yeah, I know he was in that movie. It was like a zombie movie.
Hmm.
That's you're thinking of Land of the Dead.
Was it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
Land of
that
the Dead.
is that Romero? I never watched most of his movies.
That was yeah, around 2005 that came out.
Nice.
Mhm.
So I think after Super Mario Bros, we can transition to pretty much everyone's favorite video game movie, which is Resident Evil, right?
Oh,
I
no.
actually own a whole set. Now. See, here's the thing with the Super Mario movies. I saw them. I knew they were bad, and I laughed at them, and I enjoyed them because they were bad. With the Resident Evil ones, there was genuine enjoyment out of it because of just how easy it was. It was just like so off the wall. Like you'd have to be on LSD to think of how they just went with it. So I had genuine enjoyment in it. Which one? Mia Jovovich, though, she is a cheesy actor, and I think that kind of ruins certain moments that were supposed to look a little bit more badass per se.
Yeah, but it's also like Resident Evil's like it's goddamn goofy. Like I'm
Mhm.
guessing she's kind of got they got to be trying to have like at least a little bit of like, the tongue in cheek there,
Mhm.
just because oh like yeah it's complete like goofiness. But like the second film, there's a scene where she rescues a bunch of people by smashing her motorcycle through a church glass window
Yep.
and launching the motorcycle up in the air and exploding it. Now, how did
Mhm.
she know that there were hostages in there, or where to, or where to jump the motorcycle from, or
I
where to
don't
land?
care,
I do
but
not
it
know,
looked
and no one
awesome.
cares. Like it is ridiculous. It's like Resident Evil is one of those series that eventually it will like get to you. Like it didn't like honestly, I thought they were just like boring, goofy shit until like the fifth film, because by the fifth film it throws out everything. Like it does goofy ass kung fu. It stages monsters that make no sense for why they would build them. They build settings that there's no reason why they should build them. But it just goes off the walls by then. So by like I think the fifth film, I was just like, okay, this is it's goofy, but
Mhm.
it's fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
was I was just underwhelmed by the first one because it came out during the Matrix era where everything
um
had to be slick, so slow-mo and cool, and Resident Evil just kind of followed marching orders that every single action film of the
yeah,
time did.
I was 1 years old when the first Resident Evil came out. So I didn't really have that culture difference there. So when I was able to watch Resident Evil films and actually understand them, there was already like three out. So I was able to watch all three of them consecutively, and I guess that kind of changes my perspective to ingest them.
There were a lot of films that had this kind of Resident Evil aesthetic, which was basically taking what the Matrix had did and then just throwing in more hard rock over it. That was pretty much what it was.
I will say
Mhm.
though, you talk about the movies getting more and more ridiculous. I mean, they kind of mirror the games though. Look at the games. They get more and more ridiculous. It
Mhm.
goes from zombies to like plague viruses to whatever the hell was going on in 6.
Can we talk about seven though? The
7
grandma.
7 I think would not have been nearly as good without the first person perspective.
Yeah,
Like if you don't have that first person perspective, that game is in no way scary.
yeah, but
And the
I'm
other
just
thing I'm going to
stating,
say about
grandma
Resident
was
Evil
weird.
1, laser trap, best scene.
Yeah,
Whole sequence, yeah.
yeah. It like it which one? As a whole, I feel like it's a very mediocre film series, but they have some golden nuggets in there. But at the same time, they have a lot of scenes that just flop and make zero sense.
I think it's a little bit distaste. It kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth when you realize that the original idea for Resident Evil was going to go under George Romero. George Romero had apparently worked on a version that he was pitching to them, which was kind of just going to be more akin to just kind of like straight, like just like zombie horror and gore. And originally, when he submitted it, the company decided they didn't want to do it, and like I said, they went with the slicker Matrix style action, where the slow motion kung fu and people dressed in tight leather. That's what you got to do, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I do kind of want to see what a George Romero take on Resident Evil would be.
I think
Rest
that
in
would
peace. But
like I'm not even like the biggest Romero fan, but I would just kind of love to see what his take on that would be too.
Well, I mean, he's like a highly respected person for the zombies genre. So I mean, if they had George Romero behind Resident Evil, not only would he would that series be getting George Romero fans, but Resident Evil fans, and just combining those two, and I think it would be a much more massive success than it was.
Well, I mean, like he kind of like petered out with ideas like as the twilight of his life. But if it was like similar to his other format, which I think like Romero realizes enough that it's not just about like survival horror actually has to have stakes. Like be honest, in Resident Evil, we don't really care who's gonna make it out. They're all just tough soldier A, tough soldier B. Some of them are fodder, some might get out. Even like Mila Jovovich's character, like she's gonna survive by the end just by the fact that she has any personality or backstory to her.
And then they just kill her. Spoilers. They just like straight up murder her 30,000 times.
But that's the thing, she can't die. It's like
the last
Saw.
one
It's like
came
you
out
kill
years
her
ago.
off,
It's not
but
much
then
of a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, okay. The last one, she only dies, I think, twice because she has two versions of her in that one, right? But in the two movies before that, I think it was the third one or the fourth one, where there's a bunch of clones of her, and there's just like infinite ones of her dying, like versions of her dying.
The third film they introduced the clones, and then the fourth is where they have that really stupid sequence where they activate them all and they're all firing guns wildly.
Yeah, they like jump down this like elevator and start shooting everyone. Yeah, that was a weird scene. The CGI was fun. I'm just gonna say fun.
It was the 2000s. We weren't out of the uncanny valley. We had a ways to go.
Standards weren't as high back then, too.
Oh yeah.
All right, so varying opinions on Resident Evil. Are there any other video game movies that anyone wants to talk about? I got a couple, but I'll let someone else go.
So while we're in this horror genre, Silent Hill.
Not to be confused with The Hills Have Eyes. That's a joke that no one's going to get, by the way.
I don't understand how at all. There's just
inside jokes. I guess you had to be there.
Title.
Yes, I never saw the Silent Hill movie, but a lot of people said it was actually pretty good.
It had potential. This is like the problem. This is like one of those like video game films that was made by someone who was a huge fan. Like this film didn't even come into being unless this guy was at the helm. This guy, like, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name for a minute, but yeah, he was devoted enough. Like he basically spent his own money to make test footage to show them, saying, look, I could make a Silent Hill movie. This is what it would look like. It would be a really big deal. And they eventually said, okay, we'll go through it. And when he started directing on it, he actually, I don't know if this is true or not, it's kind of a rumor, but they say he actually wheeled out like a PlayStation and had the game up while he was directing to try to match as close as he could. But yeah, it was like one of those things where Christoph Gans, I believe was his name. Yeah, it was Christoph Gans. He directed the film, but it was a problem with like executive meddling where it didn't end up the way that it did, because when he turned in his first cut of the film, their one major note was, you only have a woman in the lead. Why isn't there a dude
Ooh.
story? So if you ever
Mm,
watch that film and you notice why the Sean Bean's character seems so forced in and his plot's so boring,
that
that's kind of
explains.
why.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
he ties into the second one a lot more than the first one. But see, the first one, the first Silent Hill movie, it was very close. Of course, they made some changes that were tasteful, in my opinion. They had some tasteful changes. Other than the nurses was a little uncalled for. But other than the nurses scene, it seemed very well put together and like they knew what to do with this movie. But then, like after they made all this potential to make a really good series, I think that where it really went wrong was the sequel. I think the sequel is when it really killed it. Whereas like
Oh,
we're not making another sequel.
yeah, the sequel basically kind of like doubles all the problems that the first film had because like the new director who they brought on was like way too much of like yeah, I'm a real fan and I'm going to do it for all of you fans. Like he at one point said I think he put out like a call on like a forum or something saying, "Look, I will cast whoever you want in the lead. I will do it." And I think like the most popular actor everyone said for was they wanted Ellen Page, but
Hmm.
they ultimately ended up going with a fairly no-name actress who had like a bit part in Wolverine, and that, it's just one of those things where it's like the director's a big fan, he's kind of doing it for the fans, but in terms of what he can do and how much power he has to make that film, it just turned into a mess that by the end he basically washed his hands saying, okay, look, I messed up, I made all these promises, I could not deliver them, and sorry guys, they wanted a 3D Silent Hill film, what can I tell you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Silent Hill. It's very polarizing because you'll hear from some people who are like blind, like I don't know, it's kind of like Resident Evil movies. There's blind fans that are just like, oh, it has a Silent Hill title on it, I'm gonna follow it. Um, the issues I had with the second one weren't necessarily any like acting roles or anything like that. In which I wasn't Ellen Page also a secondary actor in the Wolverine film. Like, wasn't
Well,
she Cat? I'm getting off topic. Sorry.
yeah, but but this was like Wolverine Origins, wasn't it?
Oh,
She had like
okay.
a very, very bit part in that.
Hmm. I got you. I got you. Yeah, but I think the big thing is it was the whole movie. It wasn't like a story. It was first off they retconned the entire first film after the first film retconned some of the games. We're not
That
retconned,
was
but they redid some of the games, and then the
that was
second
a
one was
choice
retconned,
by the director.
which
That was basically the director saying, "Yeah, screw that film.
man,
I'm gonna do it
and I'm
right."
guessing it's because he wanted it to be more like the games. Like you said earlier, is that he was trying to it's all for the game. Um, but my main problem with it is that it was not a story. It was fan service. He tried to mash in all of these characters from all of these games that have no correlation together and then put it into video and sent it out and got it edited together and turned into a, a C film.
Yeah. Well, like I would almost take issue with the acting, at least in terms of like the way that he directs it too. Like there are several scenes within both Silent Hill and the sequel where there are supposed to be horrific moments, and the reactions to them are just kind of like at one point she's fleeing from like horrific visions in the mall, and she passes by a chef who's cooking up flesh, and she doesn't look that startled by it. The chef cooking up flesh looks pretty bored too,
Hmm.
so there's not a whole lot of engagement in it.
I mean, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but on like that same note, like maybe it's a like more in-depth choice where it's like she's still so shocked from the events that happened prior that she unable to recognize what is currently happening because she has yet to process what already happened. So she can't do anything new with her emotions.
Except I think
She's
in that case, I think it should be more atmospheric because it was clear in those like mall sequences they were going for shock and
yeah.
like the grotesque and
Mhm.
horror, which I don't mind. I think it's neat. There are some interesting creature designs. I like the design they have of the mannequin spider. It's neat, but they don't really do too much with it. Like honestly, I would have been fine if the mannequin spider was just the central villain the whole film. That would have been fine by me.
Yeah, that I think that would have been a better film. But yeah, no, I do
Interesting
understand. I
creature.
think
It's
that's
way
just
more
bad
interesting
direction.
than anything else.
Yeah, no, again, again. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement that it really wasn't the sake that it was because it was a video game movie, but it's the direction. Because I think it had potential, and it just kind of out the window.
Definitely does. Yeah, it's got the gore. It's got an atmosphere. It doesn't take advantage of it, and a lot of that gets lost either through direction or editing.
Mhm.
Especially like the second Silent Hill film was meant to be in 3D, and they lay into that 3D thick. Like there are a lot of those moments where everything slows down and depth of field goes up.
Oh, that's why the final fight, the thing just swings. Okay, I was that confused me.
Yeah, it's 3D.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering why it like slowed down on such awkward angles. It's like okay,
2012. That was the big gimmick of the time.
like yeah. Any other movies that were no? Any other games that were turned into movies that you guys have on your mind?
I have one.
Bring it on.
Just one though. Doom.
Ooh.
Boom.
I've yet to finish
Oh,
it.
Doom.
I've tried to watch it a few times. I get to
I
finish it.
have a love-hate relationship with that movie.
I don't like it because The Rock didn't make it. But
Right.
you know that end sequence where it's kind of like just pure FPS mode, where the guy's just going
Yeah.
through it. That was pretty badass.
Carl Urban in FPS is kind of amazing.
Watch him in
I
Dread 2, folks. He's good in that.
I like that film because yeah, it did do the FPS sequence, and it's a great example that they did that and why we should never do it ever again.
I mean, there was one film that did it pretty well. Well, it was like the guy
I mean,
is like
Hardcore Henry.
I think
yeah,
it was,
Hardcore Henry. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that film I enjoyed it as
But
awkward as
that's
it
that's
was.
that's the whole gimmick though of that film. Like it doesn't actually stop everything to just show you like POV sequences to
Mhm.
remind you of the game. Because like a big problem with that is that it reinforces that the one thing you don't want to feel while watching a movie about a game, which is watch someone else play the game that you could be playing right now.
Yeah.
It's like watching a
That reminds you of
walkthrough or a playthrough, right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
like
no one
I
ever
think
does
Richard
that.
Roper described it as like, it's like someone makes you a big dinner and says like, "Here, watch me eat it in front of
Okay.
you."
Question: how do they go about it? 'Cause I feel like they could
Uh-huh.
introduce an FPS. Like if there's like someone at home base, right? And they're like, all right, turn on your cam, and then it turns on the cam. And it's like weird the digitized version of what's going on in the quote unquote real world for him.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like watching from home base. If they did it like that, where they're showing it like that, I think that could work. I don't know how they did in the film. I haven't gotten that part.
Well, they full on just did like the whole UI, basically the gun over your shoulder, so it looks like the UI. Like
Mhm.
no one holds a gun like that with your eyeline vision, so it's clearly meant to just look like the game.
Gotcha.
And while that scene is okay, it's such a different pace from the rest of the movie.
It stops to say like, "Oh, by the way, Doom is a game," just in case you forgot.
You know what I like? Like
Video
at the very
movie.
end of that sequence, the like demon in the wheelchair. Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't
So
remember
like,
that movie a lot.
like the
little
like
bit of it.
nerdy scientist in the beginning of the film gets like demonized, infected, I guess you could say. So, like at the very end, when Carl is like shooting everybody, and he's like one room away from like end goal, the dude shows back up again, but he's just like this grotesque looking demon in a wheelchair, and like it's like crawling towards him while dragging the wheelchair. That was pretty memorable. I liked it.
Yeah, I should probably watch Doom. I've tried to a few times. I just need to man up and finish
Question. Have you guys seen the new one? Because I haven't.
it.
Oh, the Doom Annihilation.
Is that what it's
Is
called?
that the one on Netflix last year?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
I have
with
not
the,
seen
Yeah,
that.
it's garbage.
with the all-female cast.
Yeah, it is
right?
complete. It is complete forgettable garbage. It's standard Space Marines come to place. Yeah, they get torn apart. There's barely any character. There's a little bit of pathos, but not a lot to get involved
Is there a
with.
Doom guy?
Oh,
I
How
can't
it's
watch
just
it.
Space Marines.
I can't
How
watch
have they
it.
made two with no Doom guy?
I just can't.
But they put in all the enemies, so yeah, they shoot
Yeah.
fire.
Eh.
All right, well,
Great.
the third one needs to have Doom guy, right? And he's gonna like go back in time and save Dwayne the Rock Johnson. And Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Doom guy are just gonna like become beasts.
I don't think they would do if they wanted to be like faithful to Doom Guy, which if I remember
Mhm.
correctly, Doom Guy had like a backstory of basically he was kicked off of Earth because he didn't want to murder people essentially, and like the company betrayed him, I think.
Whoa.
If I remember correctly, that's like it's like some backstory where like he was like banished and basically, he's basically kind of like sent to hell by this corporation and has to fight his way out of hell.
Whoa.
Like if
Damn.
they went with that story, that would be cool, but no, it's just like standard Space Marine stuff. I think because I think that story is a little bit too intricate where people would get bored because they think Doom is, they just want like the violence from Doom. Or B, it's too criticizing of like, like the military structure that they
Mhm.
wouldn't dare make a film like that.
I mean,
I
I'm
mean, the
pretty sure
military-
some Warhawks
military
would go
does look
after them. Go ahead, Nemo.
The military, like anything that regards the American military, they do look at, and you have to sign contracts and all that, and they have to revise the script over and over again. So yeah, it might be that like somewhere along the line they tried to produce a script that had Doom guy in it, and they try to have these in-depth details with it, and then the U.S. Army is like, no. So like, well, why would we add Doom guy if it has none of the intricacies or any of the backstory that this Doom guy in the movies do? I mean, in the games do.
Depends how much backing you would have to have like from the DOJ if you actually wanted to make it. Like you could kind of make, I mean, since it's just like goofy Space Marines, you could probably get away without having that kind of sign on. I'm just thinking
Mhm.
like more in terms of the demographics or the producers that they want to
Yeah,
that they want to
yeah.
play to. Like I mean, if you do it with the DOJ, like if you want to say yes, this is the American military and you do want to show that off, then yeah, you pretty much have to do that if you want that
Mhm.
access. But but I get the feeling they probably wouldn't, only because like within the Doom movies, they stage that it's not, the issues that happen are not like a specific issue with like the military. It's more with the scientists. Like, science goes awry and the military has to come in and clean it up.
hmm Yeah, yeah. It was just a thought. Like maybe I was just saying, like maybe there was a point in time where they tried to do something. It just never went through.
Yeah. Either I would almost say like, yeah, that might be the issue, but I honestly think it's just them being lazy.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
plague
think they want to
amongst
go
them.
that far for a direct-to-video Doom movie. So
I mean, if they worked harder on it, it might not have been direct to video.
possible.
I digress.
So I got a question for you guys. Are there any of video game movies you guys watched that you didn't realize were based on a video game until after you had watched it?
Um,
Because for
I
me, that's Tomb Raider.
really.
I
I
played
had
Tomb Raider.
no idea there were Tomb Raider video games until well after I watched the first
Okay,
movie.
this is entirely a generational thing because there's no way anyone growing up in the 90s would not know Tomb Raider.
I was
That's
born in
me.
2001, and I played Tomb Raider on the PlayStation and PlayStation 2.
93. I did not play a Tomb Raider game until well after I saw the movie.
But it was Tomb Raider was everywhere. It was like plastered all over PC Gamer. They referenced it on King of the Hill. It was like it was constantly referenced as like a female icon of the era. It was everywhere.
Don't know what to tell you.
There's
I
been like
played Spyro.
I played
Spyro
Spyro
guy.
too, so don't worry.
that's what I'm saying. It's a generational thing. It's a generational thing because like people who grew up in the 90s, everyone knew what Tomb Raider was at that time. So it's a generational thing.
So, future video game films. There are two in production right now: Five Nights at Freddy's and Minecraft. And
Five Nights at
currently,
Freddy's has a movie.
it's in pre-production, but
My
Minecraft
God.
itself is in production.
Still going ahead with
Steve Carell.
Is it still Steve Carell and was it Sean Levy, I think, is still directing on it? I think.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for Game Theory to make like 50 videos about the Five
The
Nights
The
movie.
Five
movies.
Nights movie.
Hey guys, you remember how I told you the last 10 videos that said it was the end was going to be the end? Well, not this time.
Yeah. I think
Another.
Scott Coffin just does that to troll him. He's like, "Oh, you thought it was the end?" Because Scott Coffin also does the same thing. Like with the end of FNAF 3, he's like, "All right, this is the last game, guys," and then like the fourth one comes out of nowhere. They're like, "Yeah, no, you guys were so supportive of the last few that I just decided to do this for fun." It's like, what?
We already
Say
got
it
a
with
Five
me.
Nights at Freddy's movie
Another FNAF theory.
When
and a Splits movie.
So I've been actually following the FNAF movie for. I mean, it was announced years ago. It's been bouncing around from studio to studio.
hmm
And I think it's with Blumhouse right now, and they do really good low budget movies. So
hoping for
I'm
for a
hoping it's
banger.
still with them.
My only issue though is that it's Blumhouse, and sometimes they're low quality. Like they make good quality, sorry, but they're low budget. Sometimes seeps in the film with like bad sets and like bad costume designs. So I'm
That's
like,
fair.
I hope that doesn't happen because they're animatronics. They're like full on costumes. The amount of money they have to pour into that, like I hope that that doesn't sets one like they have really good animatronics and a really bad set, or like a really good set and really cheesy animatronics. I hope they can balance that very well.
If you only have one set, then yeah, I imagine you could probably dump a little more into that, into whatever you want to make the animatronics look. I mean, like it really depends. Like honestly, it's going to be a huge controversy. Like the original Five Nights at Freddy's were like super like blocky Blender rendered characters, so chances are like they could go with something like that, or they could make something more like ragged and technologically more astute, or just go full Chuck E. Cheese type stuff.
Oh
I
God!
want to see that.
So
That will
it's
genuinely terrify me.
If
they're gonna
anyone
all do
else wants some
similar.
nightmare fuel, go look up a picture of Chuck E. Cheese in the '80s. Ugh.
Oh
I'm doing
boy.
it right now.
Hoping it'll be
Oh
something that can
no.
do the Banana Splits movie.
Okay, I can see that.
Have you guys seen the Banana Splits movie?
Oh my god.
Did he
Banana
just go look up Chuck E.
splits
Cheese in the '80s?
movie.
Oh my god. That's
Hey,
terrible.
Ooh, look at that.
I want to. Do we want to give the editor of this just a bunch of extra work? Throw that picture up on the screen.
80s Chuck E. Cheese.
That's,
I think I just
oh,
scarred Nemo for life.
80s.
Yeah, give me the old
okay.
rocket fire
I was
explosion
expecting
any
it to
day.
be
What,
like
what time stamp
really,
is
really
this?
bad, but no, it's
Okay.
just it is the fuel of nightmares. It is. I would not want my worst enemies to see that before they slept.
Whoa. I just typed in 80s Chuck E. Cheese. What is this?
Seriously, at some point in this video, the editor needs to just throw it up on the screen and let everyone
No.
see it.
The
He
very
has like
last
black
frame is
rings
just
around
like
his
its
eyes,
face.
dude. What the hell is this? Is he
It's a
on
demon.
something? He's on like rat poison. Getting high off rat poison or some shit. I don't know.
He's huffing that good stuff.
Look at that. Look at that. Disgusting.
I hate it.
and that's who you would take your kids to see back in the 80s and 90s.
No wonder there's so
I
many
would
scarred
I would
little
just
children.
automatically assume whoever's underneath that mask is a pedophile or just some creep.
I mean, you're not wrong.
They gave
Not
the
wrong.
rat sunken eyes. Why? What kind of design choice is that?
So, steering our way back to movies a little bit, I got a list of upcoming video game based movies.
Go for it.
So, this year we're getting a Monster Hunter movie.
I'd watch that.
Oh God, 2021 we're getting another attempt at a Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh,
That's gonna blow.
guys, have you looked at who's working on Monster Hunter?
No, why? Say
No,
it.
who?
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh.
Oh, that actually might be really good then.
And it's got Mila Jovovich too.
Yes,
No.
Mila Jovovich in every monster-based movie, please.
Oh my God, Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich. Resident Evil's back, baby.
Now with dinosaurs.
No, dinosaurs.
I mean, I guess
No, they're gonna do it.
Everybody do the dinosaurs.
he's like, here,
Um,
wife, have more work. Thanks, husband.
Wait, Maya Jovovich was in Silent Hill too.
was she?
Yeah, she was the evil person that got her that was stuck to the tree, right? Right?
I
Like,
never
So,
saw that.
I've never
I
seen
didn't
it, so
notice.
I'm gonna have to say yes.
All right, I'm gonna look at her IMDb and see if Silent Hill is on there.
You know what I thought was gonna be a
I'm
thing?
not seeing her, no.
Nah.
You-
It might be another horror film then.
So following a new Mortal Kombat movie, we're supposed to get the Uncharted movie. Another Tomb Raider movie starring the new girl playing Tomb Raider.
Can do. Yeah.
The Minecraft movie in 2022. And then there's rumored movies. We have a rumored Metal Gear Solid movie. So basically just the game with the gameplay cut out, right?
Haha.
Thank you for laughing at that. That was
I know what you mean. Kojima likes to put long ass fucking cutscenes.
a rumored Mega Man movie. And a rumored Call of Duty movie.
I was gonna bring that up. I was like, I'm surprised they haven't made a Call of Duty movie yet.
We've been making them.
It's because
I think
Mia
it's a bad
Jovovich was in
idea.
Hellboy. That's what it is.
The one that has me intrigued is the Mega Man film because there's a lot of different ways you could do that.
Kukus, are you a Mega Man fan of the most highest quality?
No, I've never played every single Mega Man game, so I wouldn't call me of the highest quality. I like Mega Man X. Mega Man 7's pretty good, though it's really hard.
They could go at it two ways. They can do it like original Mega Man. He's like a robot built by Dr. Light, obviously, right? They could do like the Mega Man Zero storyline, kind of like in the future with Reploid, stuff like that. Or you can do the whole like Mega Man anti-warrior thing where Mega Man's like a virtual dude. It doesn't even exist technically.
Yeah, I'm really hoping they don't do that one because that one also features like the kid that owns all the computers and stuff, and he's kind of the worst part of that show.
See,
I'm debating if they might do that, yeah.
We actually skipped
There's a
over
lot
a
of ways
movie
you can
that
do it.
came out in 2006.
Which one?
Dead or Alive.
Oh,
That was a
well,
movie?
that's because it was kind of buried too.
Paul W.S. Anderson produced Dead or Alive.
Yeah, was Mila Jovovich in it?
Was she?
No,
Actually, not too bad. It's stupid and goofy, but it knows that it's stupid and goofy. So
Mhm.
it was completely buried. Like I don't think it was like properly released until like 2007. I think I know it was finished in like 2005, and then just like sat on the shelf for years until it finally got shoved out there.
Listen,
Yeah, I think
I
Paul
just
W.S.
want to
Anderson
watch.
is like a video game guy because half of his movies are based on games.
It may be my personal taste in games because I don't like fighting games. I've never been a fan of the fighting game movies.
You want to know
And
the
they've made a
original
lot of them.
Not even with
You want to
Van
know the
Damme?
original 1995 one with Van Damme?
Yeah. What?
When you directed that?
Have you seen that one, Lucas?
I have not, though. Now that I'm looking at it, I probably should watch it just for the memes.
Dude, like the guy who played Bison like died after this role.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh
It's a sad
god,
story.
that's Street Fighter is just has like the most dismal backstory behind it.
I mean, I like Jean-Claude Van Damme, so that's already a plus.
It's just the problem is like during this filming, he was completely wasted on drugs, and I believe he cheated on his wife during this time, I think.
My lord.
And apparently, like, it was pretty bad because, like, apparently he like couldn't say his lines correctly, so they had to do multiple takes.
So what
I
did they
mean,
like
there was
dub
like
his voice over like footage, ad libbing or whatever they call it?
not quite. There are a few scenes that actually left in where he did kind of slur some of his lines. And it's one of those things where it's like 37 takes, and that was the best one type of deal. So,
It was that
Rough.
bad.
but they had like problems all over. Like Raul Julia, who played Bison, was dying of cancer at the
Indeed,
time.
indeed.
So they basically tried to both limit his scenes and also try to uh, tend to his scenes first. So this meant that they had to they couldn't do as much action with him. It meant that they couldn't train everyone quickly. Like everyone who had to be trained in fighting, because barely anyone knew anything about fighting, had to
They
be
made it
trained
up
like
as they
on the
went,
set.
from what I read on the little video doc I saw.
The script by D'Souza was, I believe it was written over a weekend because that's all the time they gave him. You have to get it done in a weekend, and we got to get it ready and going because they wanted it out by Christmas. And everything about the film is just chaotic. Like at one point, the first cut they submitted to the MPAA was too violent that it got an R rating. So they edited out a lot of the violence. Like there was going to be a scene where Vega gets impaled on his own claws, and there was going to be blood, and it apparently came back with an R rating. So they edited it down and they sent it back, and it came back with a PG rating. And they were like, shit, we can't have a PG rating. So they basically added in a bunch of swears and added in a few additional scenes to make it PG-13. So supposedly there's like an R-rated cut of Street Fighter
Somewhere.
that will never see the light of day because they cut it out.
Such a beautiful movie.
It's fun. There's a lot of hilariously great lines in there too.
It reminds me of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie.
Ugh.
I don't see the resemblance, but okay.
It
It was so much fun to see in the theater.
mhm.
An empty theater. It was so great. I got a group of friends together and we all saw it.
And what sucks is the actor, like he was committed. He was like trying, but it was just, I feel like the material was just so bad. But that's not a video game movie.
Everyone was kind of trying in there. Like a lot of the older actors knew what they were in and they put their best foot forward. But it's
Piccolo.
Sometimes
It's a big mess.
It's not the actors that have to carry. It's everything else in production.
Did he go Super Saiyan
Alright.
at the end of the film, or was that like an Ozaru form?
No, yeah, he turned into Ozaru, except he was like 6 foot tall Ozaru, and then he just punches Piccolo. That movie is so bad. I'm very thankful I didn't see it in theaters, so I didn't have to pay to see that movie.
I didn't see it in theaters either. I was like, it looks like ass.
It's another production that was plagued by nobody knowing what to do with the property. Because like Fox bought the rights when like Dragon Ball Z was hot on Cartoon Network, so like around 2002, 2003, and just nobody knew what to write. Like they had like a bunch of different ideas and nothing was sticking, and it was eventually whoever we can get to finish this now, and that's how we
Sad.
kind of ended up with that.
The problem I have is that obviously they tried to make it like Dragon Ball Z with the crazy special effects and whatever. If they had gone the other direction and made it more like Dragon Ball, focusing on the martial arts, I think it would have been a really good movie.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I love Dragon Ball like way more than Dragon Ball Z because a huge problem with Dragon Ball Z is it basically pulls a Highlander 2 on Dragon Ball. Like everyone's accustomed to like Dragon Ball Z, but if you were to watch Dragon Ball first and then watch Dragon Ball Z, it's like they Highlander 2'd it. They explained away Goku's powers as like aliens, and now there's like power levels, so now there's no surprise. It's just a matter of grinding. It takes all like the allure and kind of like the whimsy out of like Dragon Ball.
Every season, power scales exponentially into the atmosphere.
I also just enjoyed the stories in Dragon Ball more than Dragon Ball Z. I know that it's not my generation, but me and my dad watched all of Dragon Ball. and then we watched all of Dragon Ball Z up until like 2007.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we watched all of those. Dragon Ball, much better story arcs. I like the characterization they have. My favorite episode is the one where there's a maze and he has to figure out how to get to both sides at the same time, and it ends up him having to sacrifice his friend, and then he's gonna come back for him. I don't know, that episode alone, just like it has a place in my heart for some reason, and I can never forget about it.
I
It's
know
just
that
There's
It focuses a
Go
lot
ahead.
more on adventure than just like like the the standard kind of like montage of training.
calm down there,
Well,
Nemo. Calm down.
there's so many
Like
great
the
fights in Dragon Ball too. Like when I go back and think of some of the best just martial art fights, I think of like Goku versus Tao Pai Pai, Goku
Mhm.
versus Tien at the Martial Art World Championship.
yeah, even the tournaments felt like they were actually trying new and creative stuff as opposed to just like oh, who will beat who in the tournament. And they were also really daring. Like if I remember correctly, there's an episode where Goku fights Tai Pai, and he basically shoves his pole up his ass.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Could not believe they got away with that on Cartoon Network.
You just shove a
To
pull up
be
his
fair,
ass.
the original animation also had Goku naked as a kid, so you really
Yeah.
couldn't show that either.
I just didn't expect a guy to be walking around with a stick up his ass because like it's not just like one shot. It's like he walks around with it for a few scenes,
That's
like an
Japan.
agony. It's-
You know, Kukas, you're talking about power scaling, right? Going off the charts as the
Yep.
shows went on, It really gets out of hand when we get to Super, obviously. If
Haven't watched any of it.
For those
Yeah,
who have
I
watched
watched.
Super, it's power scaling is ridiculous. But I will say though, it's not as bad as Saint Seiya's power scaling. That's a whole nother league. Whole different freaking league.
And for that discussion, you can check into our anime podcast, which doesn't exist yet.
Kukas is right. Go check it out when it happens. Don't know when, but it'll happen.
Dun dun.
Editor, add some eerie music, hopefully. Royalty free
Aren't
eerie
you that?
music.
Or just bump my audio and use that royalty free.
Bump Lucas's audio. There we go.
Dun dun.
I like when do you guys remember in the original Dragon Ball when Krillin's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll fetch this for you, Goku," and they're like at a dinner or whatever, and then like this flying green guy kills him, Tambourine, I think.
Yeah, it was Tambourine.
I was like, Krillin died for the first time.
Sorry, this is inappropriate laughter, but I laughed.
You're laughing at
So
my boy
I-
Krillin. What's wrong with you?
I don't know if you guys ever watched
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Oh yeah.
But when Goku dies in the fight with Raditz, I love because Krillin just jumps up and yells, "I'm not the first person to die in this show," and that really got me.
Oh,
so with
Man.
the Dragon Ball movie, speaking of really bad 2009 films where people shoot key blasts, there was also Street Fighter:
Oh.
The Legend of Chun Li,
Uh,
which also had that. It's also
I
by
mean-
Fox too. That's so strange.
maybe we just don't get Fox stuff. Oh, wait, no, Fox is Disney now.
maybe we don't give early 2000s Fox access to video game IPs.
You know what? Don't give them any ideas about a streaming service, Kukas. They will roll with it.
I mean, they're already on Disney Plus. They don't get their own at this point.
Oh, good point.
Didn't Fox used to have their own streaming service too that like flopped?
I don't know, to be frank with you.
I don't think so.
For some reason I remember like back in like 2012, like all of the big website, not websites, all the big TV channels like HBO and Stars and Fox had their own like apps on the
I mean,
iPad.
so they had apps, you could stream to the website, but it wasn't like a paid streaming service.
Well, it was a they had apps, but they were connection apps basically. It was like a way to like circumvent your cable without using a cable box. So you could download like the HBO app and you could connect with HBO like series, but you would have to connect it with your cable provider.
Gotcha.
It's essentially like if you have to like own HBO before you can activate the app.
That's rubbish.
So video game movies.
What about
Chun-Li is actually pretty fun.
So
Sonic? I said it.
there's been a couple recently that I think are kind of reversing the curse. They're definitely better than in the past. You know, talking about like Detective Pikachu, the
Okay, well,
Sonic movie, which most of us haven't seen yet.
here's the thing. We got to first off, can we address this? Because I get this every time when there's a film that's decent. That is this the one that gets over the video game curse? Can we please define what the curse is at this point?
So the curse started with Super Mario Bros.
Okay, yeah, that's
being
bottom of the
like
barrel. Yep.
like video game adaptations into movie are bad. And it kind of carried through pretty much every video game based movie, with the exception of Tomb Raider, in my personal opinion, until I'd say
Assassin's
about
Creed.
yeah, Assassin's Creed was a good turning point. The Hitman movie did decently.
I would argue, first off, I'll plug my book here, Pixels Premiere, History of Video Game Movies I wrote on this. So there's a full history on this. But in terms of like the curse, everyone looks at it from different aspects of it. I would say from a whole lot of aspects, we've kind of overcome this curse in bits and pieces. Like if you go off of Super Mario Brothers, okay, the production was bad. Nobody knew what they were doing on it. Everyone was drunk. They were making script changes on the set. It was a horrible production. All right. So if you want to go to the next film that actually did have a great production, it was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was made by someone who I believe was like Kasdan. He said like he had an idea for it. He wanted to make it, and nobody wanted to support this film. The producer, sorry, Lawrence Kasanoff, he basically came to Midway, said, "I have an idea." They said, "You're full of it." He got a script going, and he submitted it to the studio, and they said, "This script is horrible. I don't want to do it." But then once he got it off the ground, a whole bunch of actors came together, and they actually shot like competent martial arts. They got real martial artists to work on it. Production went really smoothly. They shot in Thailand. They were counting on Sean Connery being in the film to play Raiden, but he dropped out, and they were prepared to shoot in LA because they knew he probably wouldn't come to Thailand. But then they got Christopher Lambert, and Christopher Lambert said, "Yeah, I'll join you guys in Thailand. We'll have fun there." And even Goro, who is a character that you would expect to break down and have so many problems, he apparently went fine. Like there were a few breakdowns, but apparently everyone was in good spirits on the set. Like there's numerous accounts saying that it was not a bad production. So that's like one good production. Like I legit love the Mortal Kombat film. It's goofy, but it's self-aware and it's got some cool fights in it. If you want to go like to the other thing, everyone says like, okay, well, the financial success, Super Mario Brothers, huge financial bomb, only made like I think like 30 million on a huge budget that didn't make back. If you want to go to like the next, like again, Mortal Kombat, I think crossed pretty high on that. I think it made like about 100 million,
about 120,
122 million. So that's a first huge big blockbuster. I think Street Fighter came close with about 99. So that's a big success. And in terms of like the biggest box office, like that is currently sitting with Warcraft at about 430 million, I think.
Yeah, but give Sonic a chance to catch up because it's going to pass it.
It might. It might, and I'm only saying that because I'm looking at the like Detective Pikachu is only just like a little bit off from it. So it'll probably catch up there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, even if you go based on all the film, like there's been 3 films that have made over 400 million worldwide, and a lot of them are very recent ones too. Now, if you also want to go on critical consensus, we have actually passed that too. Like Detective Pikachu became the first fresh film at about like 69%. But then that was topped soon after that with Angry Birds 2, which was sitting at, let's see, I think it's 73% here. So yeah, we've kind of passed that too. So I'm trying to think like these films, like I mean, we've had so many of these films, and in terms of like getting them made, like if they make money, it's fine. They'll keep making them, and they can keep experimenting as much as they like. In terms of critical praise, they've reached like the 73% mark, which is pretty much certified fresh at this point. So I'm trying to figure out like how much of the curse do we have left to lift before we keep declaring that it's still here? Because I think by this point, it's kind of gone.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
would say by the time we got around to like Warcraft Assassin's Creed, it was pretty much gone.
It's in bits and pieces. I mean, there have been. I mean, we're sitting on 7 Resident Evil films that have been in theaters. That's they wouldn't have done like. I mean, yeah, critics really didn't like them, and a lot of fans were uneven on them, but people kept going to them.
They made a
They
lot of
stuck
money.
around. They
Mhm.
they made a ton of money, and
That's a
in
franchise that's made like $2 billion.
One thing I applaud it for though is that it like after they put in Mia Jovovich for the first one, they made their own story with it. Like they just rolled with it. They're like, all right, well, we already set the premise for this, and then they just made their own thing. It's not even really a video game movie. It's a movie that has crossover characters and the same name and the same premise, quote unquote.
that's how you got to sell it too. You've really got to lean into that genre,
Mhm.
which is what makes it work. Which is why a lot of these other adventure films, these recent video game films are working, is because they're adventure films for kids. They've realized that where the market for this works and how it's coming to be. Like, Detective Pikachu, they appeal to kids, and then they do the nostalgia factor for the older adults that grew up with it. So you attract both markets there.
Mhm.
So what I'm essentially saying is we're going to be seeing a lot more of these films. So I would not be surprised if like the Mega Man movie ends up being like an animated movie or a film for kids.
Mhm.
Yeah. I will say one movie that I went into with low expectations and ended up being way better than I thought, and I really enjoyed it was the Rampage movie.
Yeah, Rampage is a lot of fun as just a big, dumb, giant monster movie. It fulfills its purpose.
It had plenty of comedy. I really liked the way The Rock acted in it.
So
I
I
haven't
love that.
watched.
At the time when Rampage came out, it was also one of the highest rated video game films. And I believe Dwayne said like, "Wow, that's really great. We're the highest rated video game film." And that's really cool because I was in Doom.
Uh,
Like he's
so,
he's knowing. Like that's the one thing I
so
love
we
about
can confirm that he remembers being in the Doom movie.
the fact that yeah, Dwayne Johnson is like he's very much like aware. Like he knows when like he's made films that kind of bomb and stuff like that. Like I think at one point he said like, if you work really hard, you can be an actor, but you might make some mistakes along the way. Like I mean, I was in Baywatch, so there you go.
oh, I remember that.
Ooh.
I remember that. Yeah.
Just gonna say, may not have been a great movie, but it was at least entertaining.
Oh, we know what you gets you entertained.
The The Rock, he's a good actor.
Oh,
It's just what we were just talking about.
I thought you meant like all the man pecs and breasts.
Oh, can you blame him? I mean, come on.
I watched Berserk and Dragon Ball Z, and that's basically all just like super buff guy. So
Them shirts off.
every fight scene, their shirt gets torn off, and it like shows like a nipple.
Look, I'm not saying that Mega Man should be some buff guy with his shirt off. I'm just saying it might improve the box office. Rampage made 400 million. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying that we just need to have The Rock play Mega Man.
I'm just saying we get some big muscly guy in there.
I want I want The Rock to play Mega Man, and so when he gets to the first Robot Master, he's like this 7 foot tall Mega Man going up against this like 3 foot tall Blast Man or whatever.
uh,
So with the Sonic movie, um, I would say like just between like the past, we've had like three fresh video game films in a row. Detective Pikachu, Angry Birds 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog. And at least from like most like the critical consensus, I've seen it's around like 6 to 7 on there. So like I'm willing at this point to declare that video game films have entered the age of averageness. They've become average films that become great blockbusters. They know their audience, they've tapped into it, and they find what works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and looking back at it, I almost kind of wonder how much YouTube may have played a part in the improvement of video game movies through how many people these days versus 10 years ago are watching let's plays, watching video game content on a daily basis to then turn around and watch the video game based movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, video games are so much more culturally accepted than they were 20 years ago.
It's still in the air though. Like it's more, but it's not complete. Like they're like
They were still, yeah, like I mean, the '90s, they were still like a huge phenomenon. Like there was Mario merchandise everywhere. So there was, I mean, yeah, it wasn't like as widely regarded, because there are a few dismal box office failures with it. But yeah, I think because it's become a little bit more prolific and you have like a younger generation more adept to watch stuff like Let's Plays and get involved with more like retro games and stuff like that. Especially since they do all these retro consoles and stuff like that, it's a lot easier to sell these like kind of like more aged properties, especially since they still hold up and you still have that nostalgia factor in there. You have like a piano score of the Green Hill Zone and the Sonic movie. Like they don't even like point it out. It's just like, oh, you've played this level, you know what this
Yeah.
is.
You've played this level a million times.
Yeah. So it's like that came out and I was like, all right. That's cute.
Now, when do they try to make another Super Mario Bros. Movie, or is that just a cursed franchise that will
That
never exist
is
again?
currently in
Illumination.
development
Is it
with
really?
is it
Illumination.
really?
Yes. And this is like the thing I wanted to stress because since we've entered like an age of averageness, most of the video game films that have come out now, I've seen a lot of people like these films because they're not disasters. Like a lot of the biggest praise I've been heard is people saying, "Look, it's a good film. It didn't fall flat on its face like other video game films, and
Mm-hmm.
because it gave me a lot of stuff that I like from the games." Now, this is what I'm worried about with like Illumination, because Illumination, they are all about simplicity with their films. Like at this point, around like Secret Life of Pets, they've kind of run out of like meaningful story arcs, and it's clear that it's all about just the gags and the references that they do in these films. Like
Mark,
Despicable Me 3 is just nothing but 80s references and like dated 80s references
Mark,
that wouldn't have
I'm
been
gonna
funny
have
like
to
10 years
interrupt
ago.
you for just a little bit, but Illumination, I think one way you could describe them, acid flippers. That's one way how I see them. Would you disagree with that or agree with that?
Kinda.
I mean, you can't
Uh,
reuse all the assets, obviously, like for Despicable Me and like the Secret Life of Pets, but I feel
Yeah.
like that's how they get their stuff out really quickly, and
Mhm.
They're
for
they're
a
they're super cheap.
yeah,
Yeah.
for a good price too on their end by
I think pretty
reusing the
much
stuff.
all their films are under $100 million, which for an animated film is pretty damn cheap. So it's clear that they're trying to yeah to milk the most that they can out of these franchises because like they make a ton of money, and I think they're not really going to deviate from that format. I mean, Despicable Me 3 made them a ton of money, and even though it's like one of the least regarded films in that saga, it still made money. And even like a lot of like their lesser films like Secret Life of Pets 2, and they've done like some Dr. Seuss films, they still make money. I mean, they still get like McDonald's deals, and they have marketing everywhere.
I was about to bring that up, Mark. It's not necessarily just the movies too when it comes to making money. Like obviously they break even on the money. I mean on the movies, right? Obviously, but merchandising with the Minions is like a gold mine. I'd have to
Mhm.
imagine like Minion merch everywhere. That's a big
Yeah.
player too.
Hmm.
So I feel that, yeah, that's the thing though. I feel like it's become more of a marketing brand
Yeah,
than it
totally.
is like a than it is a film saga that I kind of look forward to.
Yeah.
And this is what I fear about the Mario film is that it will just be references to the game in like a mildly decent adventure film,
Hmm.
and and the praise will just be like, well, it wasn't the best film, but it did include a lot of this stuff from the game. Like it had Bowser. You saved the princess, and there was a mid-credit Easter egg of Wario, so we'll get another Mario film, and they'll be like, oh, it's okay, and it's like that's kind of like with like the age of averageness. I'm kind of hoping we don't stay here where we just have to say,
Hmm.
oh well,
Hmm.
the film got this stuff right, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want films to like remain that stagnant within video games.
Yeah. I feel like if they do that, then other film not developers, but film producers will see that and like, well, these guys are producing it and they made a lot of money off that. Maybe we can just like rip their ethics when it comes to film creation, and then we'll just stick here and we'll be, forever set in mediocrity when it comes to video game movie.
You know, Nemo, that's one way they could go at it. But what I see happening is that a lot of people are seeing Sonic doing well, and they're thinking, like these other studios, right? Maybe we should make a video game movie. For how cheap can we do it, and how quickly can we do it? And then what we're going to end up seeing is the age of mediocrity turn back into the age of crappiness again. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be some like backwater studios trying to get some long forgotten video game IP, and they're going to try to make it into a movie. Just watch and see. It's going to happen. It's going to be terrible.
Hmm. I mean, it seems like our film industry itself has these cycles of like, these big producing studios where they have like a bunch of great films and they have like this era of like not so good films and they have another era of good films. I mean, we can just look at the person that always likes the twist and he always puts himself in all of his films. Can you guess who it is?
No.
No, no. Avatar, Last Airbender.
Oh, Alfred
No?
Hitchcock.
Oh, I'm okay, but essentially, what happened with him is that ton of good movies, right? And then he
Uh-huh.
kind of fell off. And then more recently, he's started to jump back on the train of making, mediocre to great movies. So I feel like within just the film industry itself, it's gonna constantly flux. So Leo, you could be completely right about that.
The reason that kind of like Shyamalan fluctuated back into doing the films that he's doing now is because they were cheaper. Like what was the other one he made, like was that After Earth? It was a huge
Was
like disappointment and
was
it
that
cost
with
a
Will
ton of
Smith
money.
and his
That
son?
was with
Yeah,
Will Smith
Yeah.
and his son. Yeah.
I
it was so
remember
bad they
that.
actually they took M. Night Shyamalan's name off of like the posters
Wow.
to like
He
not
did
Really?
also
advertise
make
it.
The Happening, which was just
Then
not
after that, he
very good
did
movie.
The Visitation, which is just a found footage horror film for like $10 million, and then it makes a ton of money because it's horror is still hot right now and it's cheap, and a
Hmm.
lot of people go to horror movies sight unseen.
Hmm.
Um, so I would almost say to like some degree, I would appreciate if there was like maybe a video game film that dabbled in horror. So because like horror's cheap, everyone will go to horror. You can take more risks with it.
Hmm.
You can try a lot of stuff you wouldn't normally be able to do in a lot of horror films. So I, if there are any like decent horror games, or better yet, just take a property that's not horror and just transform it into horror. Like let's do that Nurse Joy movie.
Nurse Joy movie.
Do that
Pitch it to a studio, Mark. I'm with you all the way.
for it.
Well, fellas, what video game movie would you want to see be made? Now there's a topic we haven't talked
I
about.
was just about to ask that question, Leo. You read my mind.
There you go. There you go. I got that psychic connection, man. Anyone want to throw their hat in the ring?
I'll go last in this one.
What was that, Nemo?
I'll go last one.
Okay, let's see.
And I'll go after Nemo.
Hold on. I don't think you know what last means.
I'll go after Nemo. He's last, dude. Video game
I'm gonna
movie.
be.
Oh, go ahead,
I
Mark.
get the feeling. I mean, like it's hard to say if a video game would make a good film depending on who gets involved with it, but in terms of what I would love to see up on the screen, I would kind of like to see Hotline Miami,
Ooh, I could see that.
a film. Well, especially since Hotline Miami already draws off from a lot of like, filmic influences of like, the neon 80s films and a lot of like David Lynch nonlinear storytelling. I think it could work well for the screen if you get the right director behind it.
And then in the middle of the movie, do an FPS scene.
Yeah, that's how you sell it with the VR. Just plug that whole thing for VR.
No. It has to be like an eagle eye view, just showing like them breaking into like some place and just going around.
It can be the first movie ever shot in a top-down perspective.
I was thinking we could go full Yui Bowl mode and just show footage from the game. Literally did in the House of Dead.
Oh, the way that's based. I didn't know that was based off a game. Oh, I found my answer to
House
one of the
of Dead?
questions.
There you go.
Yeah, I asked that question earlier.
From the game in the film.
Well, okay, I didn't know it like took place in reality. Like I thought it was like have you ever watched Ghost Hunters, where it's like
Yes.
it pretended to take place in reality, but it was just within the reality of the movie, not within the real world reality. Yeah,
Man, that would be great.
I thought it was pseudo history. My bad.
One suggestion I would have for video game to movie adaptation, probably BioShock. Have you guys played the BioShock games?
I've played all of them. They're amazing.
I think Rapture. I'd want to see it on the big screen, just to see how they do the whole what's his name, Andrew Ryan thing. Like, would they cover Andrew Ryan in like the early days, him like being disillusioned with everybody and going cray cray, or would they just just go immediately to like boom, landing into Rapture and setting it up from there?
Well, and if they follow the game with you like going down to the Rapture pretty much already ruined, how? Because the thing about the game is it's very atmospheric in the like the noises and everything going on around you. How atmospheric could they make the movie?
I think CGI is gonna have to be a thing. You can't freaking build Rapture just for.
You're also not gonna get real splicers.
Exactly. I mean, hey, makeup department, get your asses over here. We need you.
We need we need hooks on everybody.
Everyone's gonna be a slicer.
We need bunny masks and hooks.
Oh, dude, that was so weird when I first saw those enemies. I'm like, dude, this is some weird vibes right here. Also, the main character, like, pretty much silent throughout the whole game too. Like, you have to give him some personality. You got to build a character from the ground up, essentially.
Well, I think they have, at least within the game, they have that opportunity because your character is kind of deceived. I think if you give him a little bit of drive, I think what could make the film work is like if you just started off with Rapture already destroyed, because that you have to build up mystery through there. If you explain everything from the outset, and a lot of video games do this, and it's a huge mistake, then it's not as intriguing or mysterious. So I think you could get away with that. You just have to add a little bit more reveal to the character as he goes along.
Mark, that brings something else to mind since you were bringing up, the whole mysterious part of it. We already know how the storyline is for Rapture and for our main character, right? Like the whole, would you kindly, right? That little phrase. It'd be interesting to see if they kind of throw that away and throw us a curveball, switch up the storyline. Maybe something else happens that isn't what's directly related to the game, kind of veer off into its own direction.
You, I think the studios would be really afraid of doing that though, for risk of pissing off the people that are really big fans of the game. Because you do have that subset of people that want just the game in movie form.
It's like, I want copy and paste. That's all I
Yeah.
want. There's some people
Here's
like that.
here's the thing. I don't think they would be that concerned with that because like a lot of fans of the game will go to this film just based on the aesthetic and the fact that it is based on the game. Because like a lot of producers will know, for someone who is a fan of the games, whether the film is good or not, they're going to end up going to see it mainly because they want to see if it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
So they already have that market locked up. It's a matter of like, who else can we bring in on opening weekend and how can we make it appealing enough for them that they will come back the next weekend?
Makes sense. Well, if I had to pick a franchise that I would love to see made into a movie, and I'm not sure how they would do it based on the game mechanics, I would love to see a Fire Emblem movie.
That could work.
Incredibly story driven. Now the turn-based combat turning into obviously a real-time live action movie, I don't know how well that would translate, but that's such a well crafted world across all of the games. I'd love to see that in movie form.
I think it translate pretty well. I mean, having it like as a turn-based combat system in the movie, I don't think would be very fun to watch. Like, we want like these awesome choreographed scenes, right? I think that's what a lot of people see in movies and want to see, like these bombastic fights between other like people with swords and whatever. So I think it wouldn't be that hard to translate onto the big screen, I don't think that's a big issue necessarily.
All right. Well, you guys ready for the GTA 7 movie? I'm just kidding. I've been sitting here thinking of games I want to turn into films, but I'm realizing all the games I want to be turned into films are actually based off books. Like all the Tom Clancy games and Halo, they're based on books. So I'm like trying to think.
Wait
Overwatch.
a minute. Slow down.
Technically, the books came after the Halo games.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
No, I was unaware of this, considering Combat Evolved came out literally the year after I was born, I think.
What a child.
So, I am a child.
I'd watch a Halo movie.
I would too.
They made a Halo movie. You guys remember it?
I mean,
so
they made the
Machinima
Forward
thing?
Unto Dawn miniseries.
Yeah, I remember that one, but I don't really count that as like a real movie.
Yeah,
It was great CGI.
I'm talking about we're talking about
Like
Combat
studio.
Evolved style.
Exactly. Like a big
Also,
bombastic line.
Would have
would
to
make
have
that
Steve
work?
Downs do the voice of Master Chief again.
Oh, you know what would make it work?
What?
You don't give Master Chief any voice.
Really?
Game, the
I
entire
don't
movie
know.
silent.
I don't know about
Voiceless
that.
They can go all Mandalorian on it.
I don't know.
Just straight up no dialogue.
It's just such
Honestly,
a big
the
change.
dialogue in
Mark.
the Halo is not really
you
that
say it's a
interesting.
machinima, but this is like the Halo Legends is a full-on like production. Like the 11 million went into. Oh, that's what they got out of it. Oh, ouch.
No, I'm just saying Machinima because I think Machinima funded the Forward Unto Dawn. Like, did it?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
what I mean. Like, I'm not calling it like the actual like art form Machinima style.
I would be really hesitant at a silent protagonist because a large part of those games is the dialogue interactions between Master Chief and Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
And to completely cut those out, I think would be taking away a lot of Master Chief's character development.
I think I
think
agree.
you could
with
have
Kukas.
kind of a. I would kind of dig it if it was kind of like a one-sided conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Chief really doesn't have anything all that interesting to say. I mean, Cortana has like some great slang she can do, but like Master Chief's dialogue is honestly kind of boring. I would honestly I find actually kind of fun if Cortana was just like trying to talk to him, and Master Chief would only kind of acknowledge her now and then.
I just think the fans wouldn't be that accepting of it, in my
Like I
opinion.
said, the fans will go to anything that you put it
That's
out
fair.
there.
That's
Mark, I'm gonna take the complete opposite stance from you. I'm gonna say if they're gonna do a Halo movie,
I
not
mean,
only do I want a lot of dialogue, I specifically want Steve Downs to come back as Master Chief, at least for the voice.
the fans, like, I'm gonna just cut in real quick, Kukas. The fans won't go to anything. I think the all-female Ghostbusters movie is a good example of that. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think that? I guess it would depend on the fan base.
I think
Like, I mean,
Halo
like
is
that.
a big enough fan base that you'd get
Mhm.
people
Well,
to
yeah,
go.
like the Ghostbusters fan base has not been like it's been like nostalgic, but it wasn't like huge, especially with like younger demographics.
Okay,
Like
Also,
Halo has been
I'm
a
gonna do
constant
a hot take.
for that.
All
I'm gonna do
right,
a hot
go
take.
ahead, Nemo.
The Ghostbusters movies were not good.
the first one is great, classic.
No,
I
I'm
haven't
not
seen
even
them in
gonna.
a while,
I'm not
so
even gonna side with that.
cannot
Like
comment.
they weren't terrible. Okay, they pushed forward stuff, but they don't age very well at all. Like even the story seems kind of I mean, the second one is literally just a baby, and that is the whole story. It's like babysitting gone wrong. Which I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm younger and I like have all of these catalogs of movies I can watch that have the same thing. So I can't respect the movie quite the same. But I've seen that story arc 1,000 times. You gotta
Well, well, and
babysit this
with
child.
Ghostbusters, there's a little bit of a nostalgia factor too. Um, but Ghostbusters one, classic, great movie for the most part. Most people like it. It started to go downhill after that, and then the all women reboot suffered from a just terrible script
Hmm.
and a group of women that are all individually funny but don't have the best chemistry together. And unfortunately, I feel like that movie was always doomed from the start.
Hmm.
It did have a troubled production, I guess. Like, yeah, like the script is really not that interesting. Like one guy wants to unleash ghosts, then ghosts come out, then they stop them. There's not really a huge thematic element to it that's really all that engaging. It's just it's just like filler fluff, and then jokes will fill in the rest. To a degree, that's what the first Ghostbusters film was. It just felt like a little bit more trimmed and thoughtful. Like if you think about, there's like a little bit of like a little bit of like a commentary within there on like Reaganomics and stuff on that with how the story was assembled, that there's at least a few themes in there, especially with like questioning government control and environmentalism, which is the problem that the Ghostbusters reboot had, which a lot of films have too, which was just they just echo the sentiment of whatever the film was while lacking any thematic voice of their own. Like the RoboCop film suffered from that hugely in the remake. It had nothing to say about Detroit. It had nothing to update with its commentary on government and corporation corruption. It just talked about drones. RoboCop looks. So yeah, it's the problem with like reaping from nostalgia but not adding anything to it.
Mm-hmm.
I will interject here since there is a awkward silence. Um, yeah, Mark, I think you bring up a good point with the RoboCop reboot. We're talking a lot about drone warfare and stuff like that, and I guess you can get into the ethical stuff when it comes to using drones. Like you can kill a person with the touch of a button and watch it on a computer screen, like a video game, but except it's real life. But
We've had so many films like that too that don't really touch on anything all that interesting about it. Like, yeah, there's the moral questioning, but it's usually just straight up like just questioning. To a degree, RoboCop 2014 does it a little bit more egregiously where it focuses on it. But the thing is, like, it kind of like misses the bigger mark of RoboCop being a hero for the problems with Detroit, which is strange because if you watch the original RoboCop, a lot of the dystopian stuff they depict in that film actually came to be with Detroit. So you would think that like an update of RoboCop would actually be a little bit more mindful to take advantage of that, but no, it shifts focus.
I know I'm going to do a complete 180 here. Well, not 180 completely, since it is still focused on Detroit to an extent, Mark. But this goes back to that question I brought up earlier. What video game franchise would you want to see as a movie? Um, not the original game, but Deus Ex Human Revolution. Have you guys heard of that game before?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So takes place in Detroit for some of the first levels. You play as Adam Jensen, an ex-SWAT officer, who's now playing as a head of the security division for a big like a big augmentation company. They do a lot of prosthetics, but like they're super high in robotic stuff. So basically, let's say you lose your arm, Mark, you get one from Seraph Industries, the company the dude works for. You can basically punch through a wall, no problem. And there's a bunch of stuff of him getting owned by these super soldiers that are cyborgs. He gets beat up really bad, and he essentially becomes RoboCop. Mark, you should really look into that game.
I have played the game. It's very fun. I like the system of upgrading in there because yeah, it essentially is yeah RoboCop.
Yeah,
You were damaged, then you become a machine, and you're basically working at the behest of a corporation. That's why I like the game. That's also why I don't want it to be turned into a film either, because one, it's going to be compared to RoboCop, and two,
that's true.
you're
I didn't
not
think
going to
of
be
that.
able to convince an audience to take Adam Jensen seriously. A dude who's wearing all leather and is constantly wearing sunglasses. Everyone's just going to think he's doing like a new Matrix knockoff.
It's like, oh my god, is this
Like, I
the
mean,
new
I like
Keanu
the game,
Reeves
it's
movie?
fun, but yeah, that's what they're going to think. Because he even kind of speaks like Keanu Reeves a little bit too.
I never asked for this. Like when you see like the like 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes for the Deus Ex movie, I never asked for this.
We need guns.
There was there's a level when you go to the police station, they reference RoboCop directly, and if you look at the desk of the detective, it's Detective Murphy. Freaking hilarious. Well, I pretty much have nothing else to say. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys want to bring up before we wrap it up?
um, I guess the Sonic movie, it's all right, and yeah, we've reached the age of averageness.
It's here,
Let's not stay
folks.
here too long. Let's not stay here too long though. Okay, we can make better films. Let's keep striving for that because the product placement of Olive Garden was pretty cringy.
Alrighty, you have Mark's thoughts right there. The age of mediocrity is here, but hopefully
The Age of Olive Garden.
the age of Olive
Age of
Garden.
Olive Garden.
There we go. Nemo, any closing thoughts, statements, concerns?
I'm in support of him, but not only like within the video game movie industry, but just within movies in general. But like they always fluctuate, like I said earlier, at least from my perspective.
Hmm.
And I just hope that we don't fluctuate too hard, where we go back to Mario Brothers. I hope that
Ooh.
if there's any fluctuation, it stays within this realm and then goes up because we can always improve. There's always room for improvement.
All
He's
right.
offset. We should be okay.
Kukus, anything to say, buddy?
Uh, keep making video game movies that actually like use the game as influence.
All right, there you go.
That's what's led to the good ones recently.
As for me, all I have to say is I hope the Asylum does not make a video game movie. I really hope they don't. No. I
They
really
should
Does
make an
anyone want to
Outlast
tell
movie.
him?
Wait a minute, Mark. Do you have information regarding a video game movie from the Asylum?
Not that I know of, but I wouldn't not doubt that if they have made one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be looking at the Asylum catalog after this podcast to see if they have made one, and that'll be a talking point in the next podcast.
Anything's possible with Asylum.
Mark's not wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. I was here joined today by Kukis.
Hey, I'm Kukas. Check out our anime podcast that doesn't exist yet.
I was also joined by Mark.
Check me out on YouTube at Movies with Mark, Twitter, Madness_Mark, and you can buy my book, Pixels to Premieres, A History of Video Game Movies on Amazon.
Link in the comments down below. Also, we have Nemo.
Hey, I'm Nemo Nobody. I do my own thing at Nemo Nobody on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and you guys should check out Game Domain, just maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for hearing us, and we will catch you guys later. Peace.